You're watching Bears Now by Chat Sports. I am Harrison Graham, and it is mailbag time here on the channel. So use hashtag Bears or Super Chat. Get your questions in, and we will answer as many of them as we possibly can. Super Chats, you get to skip the line and go to the top of the list. From Ghost with the Super, thoughts on trading down to 17, getting 30, 32 and a third or fourth next year. If the Steelers would give the Bears 17, 32, and a middle round pick next year, that's something I would heavily consider. I would consider 17 and 32 because then you would have 17, 32, 53, 61, 64. 5 picks in the top 64. That's pretty solid. You'd also middle round pick next year in this scenario. Yeah, I would be open to that scenario, Ghost. So we'll see if Pittsburgh's a team that wants to move up. Hard to know what their plans are. Eric Sean, thoughts on Witherspoon at 9? I think it's a possibility, Eric. It'll depend how the Bears feel about the trenches options at that spot, but if Witherspoon's higher up on their board, cornerback's a big enough need where it wouldn't shock me. Jeff Owens, draft Jaxon, Smith-Njigba for Justin Fields, trade Darnell Mooney for a second or third, draft Darnell Wright or another tackle with the early second, or John Michael Schmitz. Thoughts? Enjoy the shot. Thanks for the content, Harrison and team. Jeff, I appreciate it. And did we wheel spin for Jeff? Yeah, we spun the wheel for Jeff. A lot happening here. Yeah, I will say this: if you're trading or if you're drafting Jaxon Smith-Njigba, I think you're trading Darnell Mooney in that scenario. Which, do I want to do that? I don't know. They would have to be pretty convinced on JSN, obviously, which I like him a lot. If Darnell Wright is there in the second round, I love that. There's a lot of first-round buzz around him. So, yeah, if he's there in round 2, I like John Michael Schmitz as a second-round guy as well. He's been getting some round 1 buzz. So, yeah, it's there's a lot of good scenarios there, but the chips have to fall right. Please have my kids field says, could the Bears draft Dorian Thompson-Robinson as a developmental quarterback? Well, so DTR, UCLA quarterback, 5-year starter, which I like. I actually do like the idea of Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who completed about 70% of his passes last year, threw for over 3,100 yards, 27-10 TD to interception ratio, rushed for almost 650 yards, rushed for 12 more touchdowns. He's a dual-threat guy. He's incredibly experienced with, I believe, 50-ish college starts, and his skill set as a backup here makes a lot of sense. Now, you drafted or you signed P.J. Walker to a 2-year deal, but I'd like to have a developmental QB3 type, cost control type of guy that can fight for a roster spot, otherwise maybe be on the practice squad. Now, of course, if you risk putting him on the practice squad, someone else could sign him, but guys, Nathan Peterman took a couple snaps last year. Like, DTR is a developmental guy I actually like quite a bit. Now, should the Bears draft a quarterback later in the draft to come be a QB3 or maybe even compete with P.J. Walker? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Let me know what you guys think. Ghost with the super chat. Shot. Could the Bears draft Lucas Van Ness? I think 9 is a tick too rich for him personally, but I haven't seen the Bears draft board, so maybe they think that's proper range for him. He's a versatile defensive lineman that can play 3-tech. He can play edge. I like him a lot. I would prefer to trade down, between 10 and 15 to take him. But if the Bears are convinced he's an elite defensive lineman, then I would have to be comfortable with it because you have to get better in the trenches, and he's a trenches player. So for me, it's a little rich, but the Bears board could look differently. Tito Pizer, I'm down to trade down, but we got to protect Fields. Colts took Nelson at 6, and he's been a 6-time Pro Bowler, so Paris might be worth it at 9. But down to trade, I want Marvin Harrison Jr. shots. Look, I mean, that's another thing. Like, if you get another draft pick next year, even if it's not a first, but it's a second, extra ammunition to be flexible in the draft next year to maybe move up. The Bears they're a trade down team right now, but move up next year to get Marvin Harrison. That'd be pretty fun. I mean, you pick between Mooney and Claypool, you have DJ Moore, and then you go get Marvin Harrison next year. That is an elite trio. There's no doubt about it. Augustine Acefus, how many smoking Jays would you give the Bears drafting Bijan at 9 or trading back and drafting him there? I would say any smoking Jay level chance of getting Bijan period is Probably one. Like, there's a small chance. I wouldn't completely dismiss the idea of doing it, but I don't think it's a very high chance. Like, you've got bigger needs. Polls just let David Montgomery walk, which kind of shows that, he doesn't necessarily have huge value for running backs, but maybe that's because he likes Bijan and would consider drafting him. I don't know, but one smoking J, 20% chance, maybe it happens, but I don't think it's super likely. Subscribe now to Bears Now, of course. Hit that sub button. Daily Chicago Bears content, trying to get to 65,000. But also to our NFL Draft channel. Just crossed 3,100 subs. YouTube.com/chatNFL. We got you covered with the latest and greatest NFL Draft content here on YouTube. You'll see me over there sometimes with some NFL Draft and Bears Draft coverage. Go subscribe. Support the movement here at Chat Sports. And that goes for our draft channel as well. Wasim, $10 super chat. He says FAR, FGB, bear down. If Paris Johnson is available, otherwise trade down. And F Don Berg. Get the FGBs, get the ARs, get the F Don Bergs, get the bear downs going. Get it all going in the chat for our guy Wasim. I'm kind of with you. Like, if all things are equal, I think Paris Johnson's my guy right now. Especially with Matt Eberflus revealing that he thinks Braxton Jones can play right tackle. Draft Paris Johnson, put him at left tackle, kick Braxton Jones to right. You're feeling a lot better about your offensive line. Ethan Eli, draft Jahmyr Gibbs, late second or early third. Open to it. Obviously, you've got three backs right now with Khalil Herbert, Deontay Foreman, and also Travis Homer, but Homer's a scat back. I'm not too concerned about his presence. But if you do draft a back early-ish, I do wonder if Herbert or Foreman could get moved. You just signed Foreman. They like Herbert, so we'll see. It'll be interesting to see if they value running back in this draft. La Will, could we get Darnell Washington if we trade down? Yeah, maybe. I think he could be there in the second round. I don't think he'd fall to 53, but maybe you trade down from 9, pick up an extra second-round pick as well or something like that. Maybe he's there in the 40s. I think that's possible. You're obviously not going to draft him at 9, and I don't think he'll fall to 53. So based on the Bears' current picks, you're probably right. He probably wouldn't be there, but, man, he's a freak. 6'7", 265 pounds. He's an unreal blocker, good red zone guy. I'm just like having images of him on QB power in the red zone just blowing a linebacker onto his ass, and Justin Fields walks into the end zone. Jacob Kellerman, would you trade a 2 for Tristan Wirfs to get a proven talent? I would trade one of those second-round picks for Tristan Wirfs to play right tackle because then you're set at tackle. You go Jones at left, Wirfs at right. And then at number 9, you either trade down to help replenish that pick that you lost, or you take a defensive lineman or a corner. If you can get Wirfs for a second-round pick, I think he's one of the premier right tackles in the NFL. William Bomer, would you do a 2-year, $14 million deal for Austin Eckler? I don't think so anymore. Had the Foreman deal not happened, maybe, but you still have to trade for him. Like, even if it's a later pick, you're still going to have to trade for him. So, the Herbert-Foreman combination is perfectly fine with me. You guys know the motto. Get the FGBs going in the chat. FGB, FGB, FGB. Chant it down below. That's what we do here. Philip Palmisano, there is no reason why we can't win 9 games this year. They upgraded the linebackers and wide receiver group, draft offensive line and defensive line in the draft, set our standards high. Yeah, and this Philip's referencing me saying before the segment that if I had to guess right now how many games the Bears won without looking at anything, I said maybe like 7 and 10. I think last year I was over-optimistic, and I thought this team could flirt with the playoff spot. Obviously, I was way off. Now, they went 1-8 in one-score games. If that's flipped around, they would have made the playoffs, but that's not how things work. I'm trying to be more cautious. I think winning 9 games is possible. I think if you do those things that you're talking about, that could happen. But you are relying on a lot of young talent to give you a lot of contribution right away. The key is if Justin Fields takes a big step, like he took a nice step last year, if he takes a big step, especially in the passing game, look, having an elite quarterback can cover up weaknesses. Like, if he's a top 10 quarterback next year, then this team probably makes the playoffs. That's just how the NFL works. Arthur Smith, who looked very uncomfortable, at least the Falcons coach, at the league meetings, the photo. There's always a couple coaches that look uncomfortable. He was one of them. But you're a different Arthur Smith. What do you think the defensive line will look like at the beginning of the season? Bear down, FGB. Well, this is what it is as we're filming this, and Travis Gibson could be the other starter for Robinson. Maybe Walker they think is the 3-tech. I don't know. I got to think there's at least 2 or 3 more names in the mix here. I mean, this is just not going to cut it. That's the bottom line. You've got to add more here. So, yeah, I mean, I would expect an early-ish pick in the draft. I would expect signing a veteran at some point. Hopefully Yannick Ngakoue. Not holding my breath at this point. But, yeah, I think you gotta get some more guys in the mix here. From Christian, if we draft Jaxon, Smith-Njigba at 9, do we have a top 3 receiving core in the NFL? On paper, it's already really good. I'll continue to say this, though, Christian. If you draft JSN, I got to think Mooney or Claypool's getting moved. I just don't think you're going to go 4 deep with guys that would all start. Like DJ Moore, Jaxon Smith-Njigba, Darnell Mooney, and Chase Claypool. One of those players is the odd man out. It's obviously not DJ Moore, and it wouldn't be JSN who you just drafted. So then it's Mooney or Claypool. You just traded for Claypool. I like Mooney more, but maybe in that scenario you trade Mooney because he plays a lot of slot, and JSN's going to play a lot of slot. So it's hard to know. I do think either way it would be a really nice trio or quartet if they did keep all 4. 2.0 says Keanu Benton in the 60s. Maybe. He's been moving up boards, you know. When this college football season ended, he was kind of viewed as an early day 3 guy. Now he's like mid day 2 potentially. I don't know. It's interesting. I would like to get him later than 64 where the Bears' 3rd round pick is right now, but you know, maybe that's proper range for him. You know, it's hard to know how these teams scout these players, but I do like the player. I think he has 1-tech, 3-tech versatility and has some pass rushing upside. Make sure you guys give me a follow on social media at HGramNFL on Instagram, at HGramNFL on Twitter. I was thinking I might bring some IG Lives back at some point. So if you guys are into that, let me know. We can talk some Bears ball over there at HGramNFL on both Twitter and Instagram.